Imagine a room lit by a single candle. A novice stands inside a chalked circle, clutching a book of sigils. He speaks the names he was told would command the unseen, and nothing answers. Hours later, the master enters, says only a few words, and the air thickens with presence. Same names, same circle, different result. Why? The secret the grimoires never print in bold is this: the name you utter matters far less than the state you inhabit. Angels and demons are mirrors, amplifiers, tuning forks. They do not simply obey, they resonate. The true ritual is not the one drawn on the floor, but the one arranged within your heart, your attention, and your will. Tonight we're going to unmask a misunderstanding that has haunted both devotees of light and explorers of shadow. The belief that power lives in the side you choose. It doesn't. Power lives in alignment. Invoke an angel from a place of vanity and it will polish your vanity. Call on a demon from a place of clarity and responsibility and it will test, sharpen, and sometimes serve that clarity. Names, candles, and seals are lenses. Alignment is the light. Get the light right and almost any lens will focus. Get it wrong, and even the holiest words disperse into fog. In this video, we'll trace the older wisdom behind this principle. The hints encoded in Hermetic writings, mystical traditions, and the esoteric footnotes most people skip. Then we'll dive into the mechanics of inner alignment. What it is, how it calibrates your field, and why spirits respond to coherence the way iron filings obey a magnet. We'll separate fantasy from function, explore paradoxes, like why banishing often fails and befriending sometimes protects. And we'll translate metaphysical ideas into plain practices you can test. By the end, you'll have a map, not of heavens and hells, but of the subtle architecture inside you that determines which door opens when you knock. If you've ever wondered why your rituals feel empty or why your prayers ignite only on certain days, stay close. The answer isn't more force, it's better tuning, and the instrument is you. Across the oldest manuals of magic and the quietest cells of monasteries runs the same hidden line. Power answers likeness. The corpus hermeticum whispers that the universe is nous, mind, and that like knows like. As above, so below was never a postcard slogan about planets and pentagrams. It was an instruction about correspondence. If the macrocosm is intelligible fire, the microcosm must kindle that same fire to converse with it. The name you pronounce is a key, but the doorway opens only when the key is cut to the shape of your inner state. Neoplatonists like Plotinus and Iamblichus taught that reality is layered. The one, the intellect, the soul, and then the material world. Between these strata move beings, angels, daimons, intelligences, whose function is mediation. Theurgy, the work of the gods, was not merely recitation. It was an art of becoming similar to what you seek. Iamblichus insists that sacred rites operate when the practitioner's soul is harmonized to the divine pattern the rite evokes. In other words, a ritual is a mirror you polish until it reflects what it names. Early Christian mystics said the same in different clothing. Pseudo-Dionysius described a celestial hierarchy in which higher orders illumine the lower according to capacity. Prayer, then, is not persuasion but preparation. Hesychasts, those who sought the prayer of the heart, believed the name works when breath, attention, and intention settle into a single stream, not because the syllables force heaven, but because the heart becomes a place heaven recognizes. The Kabbalistic tradition encodes a similar geometry. Angels are understood as functions of the Sphirot, forces of Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, rather than winged personalities. The letters of a divine name are vessels. The wine that fills them is kavana, focused intention. Without kavana, the form is hollow. With it, the same letters become a current that shapes the subtle world and, by reflection, the visible one. Islamic sages placed the hinge at niyya, intention. Actions are by intentions, say the scholars. The form of the deed is its skin, the intention its blood. Sufis add adab, the right inner posture before the real. In this reading, invocation is not a demand but a courtly approach. One arrives in the right robe, sincerity, sobriety, humility, and the court responds in kind. Eastern lineages guard the same gate. In yoga, the gunas, sattva, rajas, tamas color every action. A mantra sounded from agitation pulls agitated results. From clarity, clarifying ones. In Vajrayana, the mantra's seed germinates only when body, speech, and mind are aligned by vow. Otherwise, the sound is just air. In Buddhism, karma is intention first. Outcomes follow the vector of the heart that acted. Even the grimoires, often misread as catalogs of cosmic vending machines, quietly agree. The lesser key demands fasting, chastity, confession, and a clear mind before any conjuration. Agrippa writes that words have virtue, but the operator's virtue governs them. Crowley, for all his thorns, distilled it. When the magician acts in accord with true will, an inner alignment deeper than preference, spirits arrange themselves as allies or tests toward that will. When one acts from ego or fear, the same spirits become snarls of resistance. Across these paths, a consensus emerges. Angels and demons are not merely sides to pick but polar expressions of a single field. They answer the tone you carry more than the title you call. Purity here does not mean moral perfection. It means coherence, fewer cross-currents within you, more single-mindedness of aim. The ancient instruction is simple and severe. Become what you seek to speak with. Then the name is not a password. It is a recognition. Think of inner alignment as the hidden architecture of a temple. Pillars, arches, and a central axis that all point toward one altar. In practical terms, alignment is the agreement of three powers, attention, emotion, and will on a single aim. When those three point in one direction, you radiate a clear tone. Spirits, forces, synchronicities, call them what you will, tend to answer that tone. When the three are split, attention on result, emotion in fear, will in hesitation, you broadcast static. The rite may be elaborate, the name's exalted, but the field is noisy, and the answer is confused. Start with attention. Attention is aperture. Most people perform invocation with a scattered beam. Part on the words, part on the memory of failure, part on tomorrow's list. A divided light cannot hold a form. When attention is steady, soft yet unwavering, the form you call has a place to land. This is why breath disciplines, rosaries, malice, and rhythmic prayers work. They domesticate attention until it becomes a bowl. Emotion is charge. It is the current that animates the form attention holds. But not all emotion conducts equally. Panic and obsession crackle and burn out. Dullness doesn't carry. Devotional warmth, sober courage, lucid curiosity. These conduct steadily, like a copper wire. In practice, it is less about feeling intensely and more about feeling coherently. One note held cleanly can move a mountain. 10 notes clashing cannot lift a feather. Will is vector. It is the quiet insistence that gives direction to the charged form. Will is not gritted teeth. It is the absence of internal vetoes. When will is single, this and only this, the right inherits momentum. When will is double, this but also its opposite, the right inherits delay. The old masters solved this by vow, a declared line that removes optional exits. You need not take a monastic oath, but you do need a decision that isn't negotiated 3 minutes later. Put them together and you get a simple law. Clear form, attention, plus steady charge, emotion, plus single vector, will, equals coherence. Coherence is the signature that intelligent forces read. Angels answer coherence by clarifying it further. Demons answer coherence by testing its edges. Both, in different ways, refine the signal. This is why which side is secondary. The decisive variable is whether you are broadcasting a signal at all. Consider common failures. Someone performs a prosperity rite with perfect candles and correct psalms while secretly holding contempt for wealth or fear of responsibility. The form is right, the charge is anxious, the vector is split. Results will come as mixed blessings. Opportunities that feel wrong. Sudden expenses matching sudden gains. Another person performs a banishing fueled by hatred of their own shadow. The field interprets banish as exile a part of me. And trouble returns wearing a new mask. In both cases, the rite worked according to the actual alignment, not the stated intention. Now consider successes. A simple, Unadorned prayer spoken from grief-clarified sincerity often moves reality more than an ornate conjuration performed to feel powerful. A whispered offering made with clean gratitude opens doors without a single name pronounced. In each case, the person's inner architecture matched their aim. The universe, which is law, not lottery, responded. Two further mechanics matter. First, framing. The story you believe about what you're doing shapes the channel it can use. If you think angels only rescue and demons only harm, you will miss the angel that arrives as a stern boundary and the demon that arrives as a ruthless lesson that saves you later. If you frame spirits as functions, currents with personality, your field becomes available to both protection and pressure, which together produce growth. Second, consent. There are contracts inside you, old loyalties, unspoken bargains, inherited curses of belief, that act like invisible NDAs. You can say, I choose freedom, while a deeper layer whispers, I choose familiar pain because it proves I'm loyal to my past. Spirits respect the deeper contract. Alignment work is often contract review. Revoke what no longer serves, affirm what now does, and sign with action. Without behavioral proof, budgeting after a wealth right, boundaries after a protection right, you signal that the new contract is ceremonial, not binding. None of this denies mystery. It dignifies it. Angels and demons are not vending machines but intelligences embedded in the fabric of law. They are exquisitely sensitive to signal quality. When your temple stands on one axis, the names become doors. When it tilts, the same names become echoes. The craft, then, begins not with what you call, but with what you are when you call. Let's widen the lens and address the paradoxes that confuse most seekers. First, moralism versus coherence. People assume angels always answer the good and demons the bad. In practice, both answer coherence. An angel invoked from vanity will often permit a humbling correction. A demon invoked from sobriety may strip illusions that block your vow. Their temperaments differ, but the law they serve is singular, alignment. This is why two people can speak the same name and meet opposite fates. One approaches as a supplicant seeking escape from consequence. The other arrives as a steward accepting consequence as tuition. Spirits read that difference immediately. Second, power versus permission. Many compulsive operators chase techniques that force results. But compulsion is a confession of misalignment. It says, I do not trust law, so I will manipulate. That tone invites trickster currents, inner and outer, that teach trust by failure. Permission is different. It says, I choose this, and I authorize reality to reorganize me accordingly. The first tries to bend the world without changing. The second changes so the world can bend. Angels tend to clarify permission. Demons tend to expose where you revoked it. Third, sensation versus signal. Strong sensations, tingles, presences, flickering candles, are not the goal. They're weather. Beginners chase weather and miss the climate. The long arc of shifts in thought, character, and circumstance that follow an honest rite. A quiet invocation that yields a difficult conversation, a decisive boundary, and a month of steady work was more successful than a thunderous vision that left your habits untouched. The deepest spirits move furniture, not feelings. Now a subtler point, names and egregores. A name often plugs you into a cultural current, centuries of prayer, fear, art, and doctrine. That current has a personality. If you mouth a name you don't respect or secretly resent, you will enter its field as a trespasser or a thief. If you honor its lineage and align your conduct with its ethos, you enter as kin. This is why translation matters less than relation. Pronounce clumsily with sincerity and the current will often meet you halfway. Pronounce perfectly with contempt and the current will treat you as noise. What about failures that follow honest alignment? Some requests are vetoed by a deeper contract, call it soul, dharma, true will. You might pray for a path that would shrink you. The no is mercy in an unpleasant costume. Sometimes you meet a threshold guardian. The first response to a real vow is friction that proves you mean it. Ask for courage, meet a test. Ask for clarity, lose a comforting illusion. If you interpret every test as an attack, you will spend your practice banishing your own curriculum. And what about messy people who still work miracles? Alignment can be episodic. A life cluttered with contradiction can crystallize for an hour under grief, devotion, or responsibility. In that hour, the field is clear and reality answers. The teaching here is not hypocrisy. It's hope. Coherence can be trained until it ceases to be accidental. Consider also shadow and substitution. Many attachments are not entities but exiles, disowned parts of you asking for inclusion. You can command them to leave, and they will return wearing someone else's face. Integration is not sentimental. It is surgical. When the shadow is welcomed into rightful function, parasitic patterns lose their food. True banishing then becomes boundary, not denial. Timing and containers deserve a word. Astrology, hours, and directional attributions are not superstition. They are methods for lowering the noise floor. They align your personal tone with a larger rhythm. But timing amplifies. It does not replace alignment. Circles and seals are contracts in symbol. These are the terms. Use them not as cages for the world but as commitments for yourself. Offerings operate similarly. You are not bribing the unseen. You are declaring reciprocity. Keep your promises and your field becomes trustworthy, which is a form of power. Two common inflations derail progress. Angelic inflation says, "Because I invoked light, I am light," and refuses feedback. Demonic romanticism says, "Because I embrace shadow, I am beyond consequence," and calls chaos initiation. Both are masks for cowardice. The corrective is sovereignty. I am responsible for what I call and for what it changes in me. Sovereignty makes angels partners rather than idols and demons teachers rather than trophies. Finally, a rule of discernment. Anything that demands you betray your deepest vow is not your ally, however luminous or thrilling it appears. Anything that strengthens your vow, even through sternness, is working for your freedom. Keep that compass and the labyrinth becomes a school. Begin with a 3-minute alignment check before any prayer, spell, or meditation. Sit upright, one hand on heart, one on lower belly. Ask 3 questions aloud. Where is my attention? Name the one thing you are doing here. What is my emotion? Name it without commentary. What is my will? State the result you are actually choosing. If the answers don't point to the same aim, don't proceed. Breathe until they do. Use a simple coherence protocol. 7 breaths in a 4-7-8 cadence. On each inhale, gather your attention into a single image or phrase. On the holds, feel the emotion that rightly powers this work. Courage, devotion, gratitude. On the exhale, release conflicting agendas. After 7 cycles, speak a 1-sentence vow that begins with a verb. Protect this household. Reveal the truth. Restore right livelihood. Keep it short enough to remember under pressure. Review contracts. On paper, write 2 columns. Loyalties I keep by suffering, and loyalties I keep by growth. In the first, list habits and hidden bargains, e.g., I stay small to remain loved. I overspend to feel free. Place a small bowl of water on the page. Touch the water and say, I revoke consent for what shrinks me. I transfer my loyalty to my vow. Tear the page. Place the fragments under the bowl for 1 night, then discard them. Repeat monthly until the list runs dry. Choose function before form. Name the current you need, not the celebrity you prefer. Protection, clarification, dissolution, fortification, reconciliation. If you work angelically, call the virtue mercy, severity, harmony, and align your conduct to that virtue for 7 days. If you work demonically, define the test you accept, strip illusion around money, cut parasitic ties, and commit to daily behavior that proves permission, budgeting, boundaries, truthful conversations. Offer reciprocity. Promise a concrete act that enacts your request in the world within 24 hours. Clean a threshold if you asked for protection. Reconcile a debt if you asked for prosperity. Deliver a difficult truth if you asked for clarity. Keep it. Spirits trust actions. Keep signal hygiene 3 days before significant work. No gossip, no performative spirituality, limited screens after dusk, simple food, moderate voice. Add a noise fast. Choose one habitual distraction, doom scrolling, compulsive texting, and abstain. This is not moralism. It's quieting the field. Integrate before you banish. Light 2 candles. Name the behavior you want gone. Self-sabotage, jealous surveillance. Ask, what good job have you been trying to do for me? Listen. Give that part a rightful task. Alert me to genuine neglect, not fantasies. Then set a boundary. Not now, not here, not in this form. Extinguish the first candle. Let the second burn to completion. Track climate, not weather. Keep a 30-day ledger with 4 columns. Practice done. Hard thing done. Signal clarity. 1 to 5. External shift. Brief note. Review weekly. Look for trends, not fireworks. When friction appears, apply the threshold rule. If the obstacle forces you to embody your vow, courage, honesty, order, proceed. If it tempts you to betray it, pause and realign. Speak permission plainly. I authorize reality to reorganize me in service of this vow. I accept tuition. I refuse sabotage. Finally, close all work with the same words, regardless of current. What strengthens my vow may remain. What weakens it must leave. I will do my part. Then do one small, ordinary action that matches your aim. The mundane is the seal. If there is one thread running through every name, rite, and lineage we touched, it is this: the world answers what you are, not what you say. Angels and demons do not rescue us from the law. They reveal it. They amplify the tone already humming in our chest. When attention, emotion, and will align into coherence, invocation becomes recognition. When they fracture, even the brightest words disperse into noise. You learned that which side is secondary to what signal. That moral labels are poor compasses without sovereignty. That permission, I authorize reality to reorganize me, moves mountains that domination cannot. You saw why weather is exciting but climate is decisive, why offerings are reciprocity rather than bribes, and why containers and timings are amplifiers, not substitutes. You saw that friction is often a threshold asking you to embody your vow, and that integration, not exile, weakens the shadow's grip. So here is the invitation. Choose one vow. Make it small enough to enact daily and large enough to stretch you. Breathe yourself into alignment. Clear form, steady charge, single vector, and speak that vow out loud. Then place it in the world, one concrete act within 24 hours. Track climate, not fireworks. Let results teach you how the unseen consents to clarity. For 7 days, practice the alignment check before any spiritual act or hard conversation. When confusion spikes, repeat the closing. What strengthens my vow may remain. What weakens it must leave. I will do my part. If the way opens, step. If the way resists, listen. Perhaps a deeper contract is calling you upward, not backward. In the end, angels and demons are not trophies or terrors. They are functions of a single law. Like meets like, and likeness changes both. Align your inner temple, and doors you once begged will open because they recognize their own architecture in you. That is the real miracle, not that a force arrives, but that you become the kind of person it has always been seeking.